Croeso to Wrexham News. I'm Councillor Carrie Harper.
And I'm Councillor Marc Jones.
And we're going to talk about the recent spending review from the UK Chancellor. Labour have been spinning frantically over the last week, haven't they?
Just a bit. From the night before as well.
Yeah, trying to tell us it's a massive win for Wales, this 445 million that they've announced as part of the spending review.
Except it wasn't.
It's not all part of the spending review, is it?
Yeah. Should we cut it up a little bit? Because the only time Rachel Reeves referred to Wales was to say, I'm giving Wales £445 million over the next 10 years. Except the spending review is only over 3 years.
Yeah.
So she kind of added a few extras in. And I think it's very telling, isn't it, that, you know, when it was pointed out to various people, oh, it's actually only £300 million that you're giving, that certain people like Marc Drakeford absolutely blew a gasket.
He wasn't happy, was he, with free?
No. But I wonder why. You know, there's a lot of brittle Labour people out at the moment because I think they know they're getting caught out. They're being called out for trying to spin rather than have the substance, you know, because, and I think the critical thing here is, you know, when they were in opposition, when they were going after the Tories in Westminster, they were banging on about, we need £4 billion HS2. And now they're in government at both ends of the M4. All of a sudden,
it's changed quite a bit.
That went down to 400 million.
Yeah.
And you know, it's this tag team thing I just can't get over there. Because when the Tories were in power in Westminster, obviously the Tories didn't raise a fuss about HS2. Now that Labour's in charge in Westminster, the Tories are having a go in Wales about HS2. So this tag team thing just doesn't work. It's just the London parties. You can't tell them apart. They will never, ever do the right thing for Wales.
And it's not just about, you know, the spending review and the 445 million. The reason it matters is because of the chronic underfunding of rail in Wales, you know, and there's a few different examples that we could touch on. HS2, Northern Powerhouse Rail, East-West Rail, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But the fundamental problem is actually a massive cock-up by the Labour Party because they refused the devolution of rail infrastructure in 2005.
Yeah.
And that's where all of this stems from. They got it massively wrong. And you can argue it's probably one of the biggest cock-ups in terms of devolution.
Yeah. I think that then explains why we've got 11% of the rail track, 5% of the population, and 1% of the rail infrastructure investment. And you're thinking, anyone can see that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but because the Welsh Labour government had such a poverty of ambition, they decided, no, we don't want to take responsibility for that. And so they've missed out massively, whereas Scotland and Northern Ireland are getting their fair share.
Because it's devolved.
Yeah.
You know, this is fundamental, isn't it? You know, that's why we're missing out. That's not the only reason we're missing out, but that was a misstep, to put it politely, by Labour.
And perhaps people need to understand why, because if there's an England-only project, which is what HS2 is, which is what the East-West and Northern Powers Rail is, Scotland and Northern Ireland, because infrastructure is devolved there, get what's called a Barnett consequential. They get a chunk of money according to their population to do the right thing with the rail in their areas. Wales, because it's lumped together with England, doesn't.
I mean, they could still do it.
They could still do the right thing,
They could still classify these projects as England only and rightly give us our fair share. But this is the fundamental thing, isn't it? They're choosing not to do.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, even the Tories accepted this was an England-only project, the East-West thing, wasn't it?
Should we just look at? Like,
do you want to explain that one? Yeah,
these three projects. That, you know, there's massive controversy around historic underfunding of rail, but the last three things that come to mind: HS2, London to Birmingham. I'd say pretty fundamentally that is an England-only project. The estimate is Wales should have got 4 billion because of HS2. So that's one. Then there's Northern Powerhouse Rail. So that's improving infrastructure between English cities. So that's Sheffield, Newcastle, Manchester. The latest one, and this was just a couple of weeks ago, which was originally classed as an English-only project. This one's really shocking because they reclassified this one very recently, Labour in London, as an England Wales project. And that is East West Rail, which is Oxford to Cambridge.
Yeah, those well-known university towns in Wales.
Well, I mean, come on. So this is what blows my mind with this. You have a situation where we are missing out on billions, an absolute fortune in terms of rail funding, because Labour cocked up 20 years ago and didn't accept the devolution of rail infrastructure.
Yeah.
Then we have Labour in London taking advantage of that, exploiting that mistake and using that loophole to deliberately underfund Wales. They know it's wrong, it's smoke and mirrors, isn't it, these classifications, where we're entitled to billions, and then we have Labour last week telling us we should be grateful for the couple of 100 million that they're offering as part of this spending review when we're entitled to billions. Like, you couldn't make this up. This is political gaslighting on a whole other level.
It is, and that's why they're getting so ratty. I think they know they've been caught out. People are, suddenly waking up to the fact, do you know what? Labour, the people who are meant to look after us, they're shafting us as well as the Tories.
They let us down. They let us down in Cardiff. They're letting us down in London.
Yeah.
And rail is just the example, isn't it? Of, they think we were all born yesterday. They must do.
Yeah.
They must do.
And we hear talk about the North Wales Metro, which is actually, a bit of tarting up of stations, linking up trains with buses. Wow, how revolutionary is that? And you just, they've renamed a bus service from Fflint to Wrecsam as a new metro line when it's actually the X51 to anybody who uses that service. And you just think, you do think we're stupid.
They do, Manchester's getting 5 times as much as Wales, even though obviously we've got a bigger population than Greater Manchester. And we're supposed to take that as a win for Wales?
Yeah, well, they've tried to spin it, but nobody's buying the spin anymore, And, you go to Manchester and, it has got that feel of an integrated transport system, whether it's buses, trains, trams, you can get around with public transport. You try doing that in Wales, I mean, there are odds and sods, Cardiff and the Valleys line, they've had money, that's great, but it's only what we should have had 20 years ago. We still haven't got electrification to Swansea. And North Wales, there's some vague pie in the sky thing about electrification of the North Wales coastline. Well, how long does this have to take? How long do we have to put up with this rubbish?
And the thing is, as well, they wouldn't dare do this in Scotland or Northern Ireland. It's not just about the devolution. There's a fundamental fairness and justice issue there. But the reason they wouldn't do it in Scotland is because Scotland's led by the SNP. The reason that they would do it in Northern Ireland is the Sinn Féin-led executive there. So what's the difference with us then, I wonder?
Let's have a think, shall we?
Yeah.
Because they know Labour in Wales is a soft touch. They'll take anything they're given. And they will, rather than kick off, for all this talk about, I've gone down to see a Kia and I've been really angry. Is anyone listening? Nobody's listening, Lynette.
No, apparently this is what they asked for. They didn't ask for any, Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah. And that's where we are. That's where we are. We've got a Labour government which timidly says, please, sir, can I have some more, if you don't mind? And we need somebody who's going to bang the table and said, we deserve that. We deserve better. We deserve fair funding. Simple as.
Absolutely. And people have got a chance to do that next May by voting for a Plaid Cymru government who will not be accepting crumbs off the table, whichever party is in government in London.
We want the whole bloody bakery.
That's a good line.